Hi, I'm Scott, and today we're going to unbox and install this wall-mounted retractable vacuum set from Giraffe Tools on Dad It Yourself. If you got a garage or a shop like mine, you know cleanup is half the battle. This wall-mounted vacuum promises strong suction, a retractable hose, and the convenience of never having to drag a shop vac around the floor ever again. So let's get this unboxed, mount it up, and see if it really will be able to keep up with my dusty workshop. So here's everything that was in the box so far. Mounting brackets, I don't know what these are. I'll find out when I read the instructions. A couple of extension tubes for the vacuum. Looks like a muffler filter, a cleaning brush over here. I've got the template, the instructions, and looks like some mounting stuff for if you're going into masonry, or just some lag screws and washers if you're going into wood. And I've already leafed through this, and I know that there are more parts inside there. So let's take a look and see what's in there. So underneath looks like the accessory bracket, the two main mounting brackets, some other brackets for the accessories, some more tools, carpet tool, a floor tool. This is the one with the rubber wipers, because if you didn't know, this is also a wet dry vac. The main floor sweeper, and this is retractable. You can use this switch and either use like a vacuum with the brush or flat for water. Got a crevice tool right here, and there's another brush, and here's the main wand, and this one comes with the Bluetooth remote switch, so you can turn this on and off from the nozzle as opposed to having to walk back to the unit and hit the power switch all the time. All right, let's get this thing installed. So I'm looking around my shop, and I don't know where I would install this. I think over there wouldn't work because the hood of the laser would hit it. Up above there may work, but I think I'd have problems getting to the dustbin down below. And as you can see, my walls are really, really full. I've got two locations in mind. So I think maybe, as you can see, I don't use this shelf very often. Maybe take this shelf out and mount it to that wall. It'll be recessed out of the way, which would be nice. This shelf is well within my reach, so we know we can get to that main power button. And then I have room back there or on this side wall where I could put the accessories. The other location I was considering is putting it right here where this television is. I don't use this TV very often. And, I have a plug right there, which is nice. But I don't use the TV because it's a distraction. But I think putting this unit up here, it may stick out just a little too far for me and impede my ability to go up and down from this workbench. So I have a feeling we could go there. I think that's a little high up there. We're going to go ahead and put it where that shelf is right there. So what I got to do is I got to clear off the rest of the stuff off that shelf and get that shelf out of the way. Okay, so this area is all cleared out. It's really cool. I built this wall. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link in the description. But because I built this wall and it's built with OSB, I know where all the studs are. There's one there, there's one there, there's one in the corner. This is a 16-inch on center wall. So when we put those brackets up, hopefully at least 2 screws in each of those brackets end up in a stud. Now the challenge I have is this right here. Even if I took this off and swung it around against this wall, it's still, that's my lower limit. I need 6 inches above this point so I can drop the dust basket out of the unit and pull it out this way. So what I need to do is go ahead and measure from here up to where the top of the brackets are so I know where my level line is to mount the brackets. So I temporarily slid the brackets on the back of the unit, and I know to the holes it is 10.5 inches, and I need about 6 inches below this basket here to drop down to be able to take that off. So 10.5 plus 16.5, or excuse me, 10.5 plus 6 is 16.5. So that's where I'm going to put my level line on the wall and mount the brackets. So I got everything marked, and I got my level line up there, and I folded over the template so I could put it right on the level line. And I'm real fortunate that there's a stud right by that hole running down this side and a stud right by that hole. Thankfully, those holes are a little elongated, so I should be able to hit that board really easy. You'll see everything's in millimeters. Fortunately, the instructions also have imperial, so if you're using a tape measure and you don't know, or don't have an imperial, don't have a metric tape measure, you can use the instructions. It'll give you all the dimensions. But really, looking at this, I don't need to do any measurements now. I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes and get ready to put the lags in. So the kit comes with these 5/16 lag screws, which have a shank on them. And that's really good for going into a stud because that shank will pull everything nice and tight. And honestly, this thing could probably hold up with just using these lags going into the studs. I mean, these things are like 3 inches long. But on the inside holes on the brackets, I only have 5/8 OSB, and I just happen to have these 1.5-inch lags on hand. So I'm going to go ahead and use these on the inside. They'll just help me level it a little easier and give it a little bit of support. But like I said, these things are probably more than adequate to keep that thing up. So I was able to get that all mounted up, and that spacing right there for you metric users is 150 millimeters. And for us imperial users, if it makes you feel any better, it's 6 1/5 inch, whatever. Before I hang this thing up on the wall, I got to put this wand holder on here. So it wasn't too heavy. It was just a little bit awkward. I already put the wand on there, and after all that measurement, I still ended up having to move that over that way and bolting it to the wall because it was actually hitting right here, and it would have been in my way. So that was an easy fix for that. And you can see that cord going back there because I have power right in that spot right there. So that worked out really well for me. All right, let's get the accessories put up, and then we're going to talk about this unit. So those all snapped in place, and then they have little set screws. See one there on the back just to keep everything in place. The only thing that I'm not happy with is this is for the extensions, and it only goes on that end. They didn't provide holes, so in case you wanted to put it in the other direction on the other end. So my intent was to put this on the left side over there. Well, now my extensions are in the back as opposed to being in the front. So now I got to figure out another place to put this. So there's all the accessories mounted on the right side so I could get to these extension poles, and everything's there. And I really don't think this bag is going to cause any issues, but we could turn it on and see what happens. Ooh. I'll call that a win. So before I installed this, I used to use this to clean my shop. And for those of you that have a dust collector in your shop, you know this is probably not a very good idea. One of the main reasons why it's not a good idea is because this is a dust collector. It's supposed to get sawdust. That's it, nothing more. And if I'm using it as a vacuum, I'm pulling up things like rocks, screws, small wood chips that can damage the impeller. So the other problem I really have is that it just doesn't reach across my shop. Sure, it gets to some of the tools that are closer by, but it doesn't reach all the way to the end. And I was using this to clean cars and vacuum out cars in the driveway. And it reaches my truck to a certain point, but not to the other spot where my wife parks. So that's where this vacuum from Giraffe Tools comes in handy. It reaches all the way across my shop, it reaches all the way across the driveway, and it won't cause any more damage to my dust collecting system. Check this out, a 30-foot retractable hose. Easily covers my entire garage, back corners all the way down to the driveway. Perfect for detailing our car, blowing out sawdust, and doing whatever I need in this garage now. Let's try a couple of these nozzles out. This wide one is really good for the floors, and using the remote start switch, I don't have to keep running back and forth to the unit to turn this thing back on. In the back of my truck, the brush connection works great, removing old sawdust and debris from the bed of my truck. One of the other great features that I really like about this is it does reach all the way to my laser engraver. And I can go ahead and turn this thing on, pull up all the little pieces from when I'm tight, and just getting that thing right out. That crevice tool does a really good job of dealing with that. And here's my favorite part. No wrapping, tangles, or twists. Just pull once and the hose retracts all the way back in. So to change the dust container on this, just release these, like that. And it has this thing so it just doesn't drop. You just have to lift it a little bit, pull it off of the little balls, and down it comes. And there is all the dust that I collected. Now I can just take this over to the bin, and in it goes. So before I put the case back on, you can see there's a filter right here. And you can just clean that out, take it out whenever you want to. You can see it's already starting to pick up a lot of dust. That's working really good for me. And to put this back, we're just going to take this, lift it back up. So get it up there. On this side, there it goes. And on this side, shove it forward. Ready to go till it's ready to change again. This thing is awesome. Some of the features I really want to highlight are the wall-mounted design, keeping it above the floor, out of the way. 30-foot retractable hose covering my entire garage and all the way out to my driveway. 3 nozzles for the car, the shop, and yard cleanup. Powerful suction, gentle on tools and all the surfaces, including delicate paint on the car. An easy empty dust container with a washable filter. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, put those down below. Speaking of comments, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you do, hit that bell for notifications. If I've done anything in this video or any of my other videos that you found helpful, consider joining my channel, becoming one of my Patreons, or giving me a super thanks. I'd like to thank Giraffe Tools for sponsoring this videos. They provided this unit to me free of charge just to try out. I've got some videos over here you may be interested in. The subscribe button is right over here. Thanks for watching. Dad it yourself.